Kwame Nkrumah as a personality, of course, when you are talking about a human being, you can look at the personality of the human being in sundry ways. You can look at him as a professional, as a career person. You can look at the person as a social person and as a father or as a leader. And we can box Nkrumah in all these because, yes, he was an African leader, he was a political leader, but as well, he was a human being, he was a father, right? He was a social person. And it will interest people to know that when Nkrumah, of course, he was born in Nkrofo in Ghana, a very small village. I mean, it didn't come with any pomp and pageantry, and it looks deserted. You could say it is the Bethlehem of Jesus Christ. I mean, such a hometown, a place where it looks deserted, and there's nothing exciting about the place. That is where Nkrumah came from. And as a young boy growing up, he was not used to schooling. It was Nkrumah's mother called Nyaniba who decided to introduce Nkrumah to school. In fact, Nyaniba herself wasn't educated. She had never been to school before. She was just a common trader who was doing her business. But when she realized that the Roman Catholic Church had instituted schools, basic schools in the village, she thought that it would be good to take the young Nkrumah to school. And in Nkrumah's own autobiography, Obehi, if you would allow me to refer to it.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
And read interesting portions of that to you, how Nkrumah felt about being introduced to school for the first time. And this is what Nkrumah says. He says, I'm reading from page 10 of Nkrumah's autobiography. And he titled it Birth and Early Childhood. He says, I soon learned, however, that life for a growing boy was not all play, at least not for boys with parents like mine. Although my mother had never had the benefit of formal education herself, she was determined that I should be sent to school at the earliest opportunity. My father, probably due to my mother's persuasive power, was strongly in favor of this also. Even though I could often get around my father, I knew that once my mother's mind had been made up, there was nothing I could do about it. I found my first day at school so disappointing that I ran away, determined never to return. But my mother turned a deaf ear to my raging protest and quietly but determinedly dragged me by the arm each morning and deposited me in the schoolroom. So this is a very interesting thing to read, that when people see the Nkrumah that we have come to know him, people never think that, look, when the guy was a young boy, he never liked school. And it had to take the effort and the determination of the mother to introduce Nkrumah to school. And I think that it's a great theme of the contribution of a mother, especially somebody who had never been to school herself, introducing the young child to school. I think that a lot of times we have that experience in Africa where, young African mothers, oftentimes they have to singly raise up young kids, and the absence of the man in the house, and the woman is left alone, and she has to fend for the child and all that. So Nkrumah's mother taking that decision, for me, speaks a lot for our women, our young mothers, or our African mothers. The contributions that they make in our lives is very great. And we can see it here, obviously, that Nkrumah's mother was of a great influence over Nkrumah's life. And it took her determination to put Nkrumah in school. And from then he began to enjoy school. So this is a little bit about his childhood days, if you ask me.
Thank you very much for the. It's very interesting, Because one of the things that we also try to pay attention to in this child, actually in most of our project, is that we try to really look at the human being in the story, you know, because when you look at a movie or a book or look at the over romanticized side of any history of an icon in our collective history, of course, we don't know the little bit of pieces that make up the human being, because that is what people easily connect to. But when you were talking of in the autobiography, the part where he was saying he didn't want to go to school, so his mother had to drag him to school. You know, people will say, but really, did he do that? Of course he does, because that is that is what children does. I remember when
exactly.
when I was much smaller, you know, in fact, in one of my books, I wrote, though, that the children had to be, they will go to school, they will run home, they will never come back and go. They are dragged by the hand to go back to the second day, and they will cry again. They will, you know, until they get to a time they get used to it. We all do this. Of course, we all. I don't know for other people, but I did it. I remember I cried to school.
Yeah, we do. Very interestingly, I mean, that reminds me, you know, when I was young, and I never wanted to go to school, what I would do is that I would hide one of my shoes and then hide one of my socks, forgetting that you don't have one pair of shoes, you have others. So if the other ones are. So yeah, we all try to do some of these things. And it tells you that Nkrumah, of course, the man was a normal human being. He wasn't a saint. I mean, and he tries to make us appreciate his beginning, his humble beginning in his autobiography, that look, the Nkrumah that we know of as a great African personality, look at his beginning. He was somebody who never liked to go to school, and it had to take the effort of the mother to make sure that Nkrumah would go to school. So it's a story we can relate to. Every young African can relate to the story. Yeah.
And that is really very fascinating about it, especially when we look at the effort of our mother. People who never even went to school, they try to invest in us so that we can become better than them. We can become champion of our society. So the effort of the women, of the parents, not only the women, of the parents should never be should never be underrated, because they make up who we are today.